Hello everybody, it's a brand new year and it is time for another still frame review. Last month, my old friend who is old Jason sent me this YouTube clip of this blue alien who was singing opera while accompanied by this 90s hip-hop track, and at the same time there was this orange-haired girl very convincingly punching her way through rubber aliens, and he was like, "Hey Joseph, yeah, I know you're working right now, but forget this, you need to watch this video clip." And I'm like, "But Jason, you're my boss, I'm getting mixed signals here." Well, anyway, after I had watched the clip, Jason suggested that I should do a still frame review on the movie the clip had come from, the 1997 sci-fi film, The Fifth Element. The basic plot is that there's this giant fireball headed towards Earth in the year 2263, and the only thing that can stop it are these 4 stones representing the 4 elements plus a 5th element who happens to be a person, a girl named Lilu, played by Mila Jovovich, and combined, all 5 elements will somehow destroy the fireball. So she and a taxi driver she meets named Corbin Dallas, played by Bruce Willis, are sent by the military undercover to this spaceship cruise ship thing where an alien opera singer, Plava Laguna, is hiding the other 4 elements. So they can take the 4 elements and go destroy the giant fireball. So yeah, that's the plot. It sounds really simple now that I say it in retrospect, but it does not seem that simple at all when you're watching it. When I watched it, I had no idea what the heck was going on. This is one of the more confusing movies I've seen in a long while, and I was barely holding on trying to figure out what was going on because there are way too many side stories and B-plots and too many introductions. There are like 3 different intro scenes and none of them really have anything to do with the main plot. There's something about Gary Oldman being an arms dealer and things going with the military. In fact, right now I'm not even sure why she was running from the military in the beginning and then they started working for the military in the middle. Oh, and also Chris Tucker's wearing a dress. It's just a really fatty, bloated movie. In fact, the journey, where we learn that they're setting out to go find the other 4 elements, doesn't even start until the halfway mark of this 2-hour-long movie, when something like that should normally start around the 20 to 30 minute mark. And the movie is really an inconsistent tone. Now, that one clip of the opera singer and the fight scene looked like it was supposed to be a fun, campy, self-aware kind of movie, but then other scenes it takes itself way too seriously, and still other scenes it's overly silly and doesn't seem to match the rest of the movie at all. The multiple intros don't help with this either. You know, one was more of a Marvel, mostly serious with a few quips type of tone, and then the other was like super bland, boring, dry, stereotypical 90s sci-fi kind of scene. So I never really knew what to make of this movie and whether it was being serious or silly. The writing's not just bad with the structure though, it's also the characters. I mean, well, I assume the characters are written poorly. I'm not actually sure because I don't really know who these characters are. For the majority of the movie, the characters don't interact with the same person for more than a couple of scenes. In fact, our main cast of characters don't even get to act like they know each other until around the 3/4 mark. This is important because the way we get to know who a character is through the choices they make, and those choices cause them to change over time, but we can't detect that change over time if they're never with the same person more than once, because people treat people differently the more they change. You know, I thought Chris Tucker in a dress would be the worst part of this movie, but it turns out he's actually one of the best parts of this movie because his character is actually the only one that actually acts like a character, instead of just a plot device moving one object to a different place to move the story forward. We get to actually see him make some choices, however small they may be, and we get a good idea of his personality and how much or how little he changes over time. So that's enough ragging on the writing. I would also like to rag a little bit on the production design. It's gross. Now, I'm not going to hold it too much against them, but I just don't like those sci-fi production designs where everything is very stylish yet completely impractical. Nothing looks utilitarian, as opposed to, say, something like Star Wars, where it looks like these suits and things would actually work in real life or have some sort of purpose. These just look goofy. But I will give them props that, while goofy, it is at least a little bit imaginative. And I did get a few chuckles out of the movie. The 90s hip-hop music in the background was a little dated, but it still made for a fun soundtrack, and makes otherwise weird scenes come across as campy and fun. Unfortunately, the movie as a whole was not campy and fun. Now, I will also say, I understand there are a couple of scenes of brief nudity in this movie, so you know my rules. On my score from A through F, if there's nudity, I have to give the movie an F, but even if it wasn't in there, I think I'd still give it an F anyway. F for Fifth Element. Now, that's some good, easy alliteration right there. That's the way to start off a new year that's already started. Even though there may be some fun music or a little imaginative production design, the writing is just so bad, I'm just gonna have to label this movie a failure. It feels like it's at least 2 drafts away from being a good campy movie. You know, if the whole movie had just been like that one opera scene where everything was grandiose and silly and self-aware all at the same time, then the movie could have worked. Unfortunately, the rest of the movie is not like that, and as the movie was released, it's just incompetent. So those were my thoughts on The Fifth Element. Have you happened to see this movie, and if so, what did you think about it? Also, let me know of any other movies or television shows you'd like me to review. We got a whole wide open calendar for this coming 2022, so let me know, and see you later.